how did this become more of like a digestible topic for someone like Gisèle, where fundamentally like libertarianism might think you have to kind of define yourself by your own pulling up of bootstraps. How did you come to this point of realizing that simply the system was broken and we needed to maybe give new bootstraps to people?
Um, it was visible. I mean, I live in San Francisco, and there were people in the Silicon Valley who, for years, I mean, in the picture in my mind, it was a 54-year-old guy who had been working for 30 years, who was a middle manager making $75,000 a year, and in 2008, 2009, he was fired. He was not hireable. He was never going to be hireable in the rest of his working life. He was 54. He wasn't going to draw Social Security until he was 65 or 66. And then he would have a reduced amount because he wouldn't have been working for 11 years, right?
Yeah.
Because you accumulate, right? So that person, that guy had spent his life, 30 years of his life, following the rules, doing everything he was expected to do, a good citizen, a good parent, had a car, had a mortgage, had 2 kids in college, right? He did everything right. And his life ended right then. He lost his house. His kids couldn't finish school. He wound up living in his car. He was a greeter at Walmart. No, that can't be. It's not his fault. So that vision of what an economic system can do, and by the way, we all know that there's a recession in the works.
Yeah.
There always is. This is not, we can't forego that. That is going to happen. But think about a recession when AI is in place. Do you think that people are going to rehire human labor at the end of the recession? No. Everything will be done by robots. I'm using, broad strokes here. But if the beauty, and what Gerald was talking about, what Gerald believed as a technologist, was that the potential of technology was unlimited. We could actually come to a place where John Maynard Keynes in 1930 thought that by the 21st century we would be working 15 hours a week, because we wouldn't have to work any harder than that, because the technology would have taken over a lot of the grunt work and the stuff that we needed to do in order to survive up until that time. And Gerald thought that was absolutely true. I mean, he was working with Peter Diamandis, The Age of Abundance. He got that. But the point was, how are you going to manage the institutions that we are prisoners of in a 20th century paradigm based on a 18th century paradigm, our founding documents? How are we going to get there with the institutions that are mired in the false or the no longer valid premises of previous centuries? That was the key thing. There is no question that if we handle this correctly, we can be just philosophers, what Marx said, philosophers in the evening, painters. I mean, we could do all of the things. And John Adams said the same thing. I want my child to be a philosopher. And those are things that are possible with the way technology is moving, but only if we control it and only if we handle it correctly. Otherwise, it's going to lead to blood on the streets.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you. I think there's two things we really have to consider there. It's first, growth. What does that really mean? I think we talk about growth and this perpetual need for growth, but it's growth that's supposed to be benefiting all of us. Currently, we certainly have growth. It's just going all to one place for people that don't even know how to use that growth anymore. And so I certainly agree with you that we need to kind of challenge that, because we do have the productivity currently that we could be producing the same amount of output as we did in the 30s, and everyone could be working less than half the same amount. We just decided, nope, everyone's got to keep working because the top needs to gain that from that. So it's how do we control the institutions at the end of the day? And I agree, returning some of that power to the people might be one of the ways we can transform how we do work. Because now if we have more negotiating power to say no to an abusive job, that might say, okay, we're going to start designing jobs that are not so poor to perform. So I'd be curious to hear a little bit more in the case of your son, or even this hypothetical man you were painting. Was welfare a system that was available to him at the time after that job loss? Was that a program that you think was helpful at all, if at all available? Gisèle?
So there were, unemployment
Mm-hmm.
but it runs out. And most welfare, I mean, I've been working with some people who are very well introduced in the world of welfare, like Diane Pagan, who was part of the march in New York City. And she's not the only one. I mean, I'm very well aware of the fact that the safety net is full of holes, full of holes. 25% of the people who are eligible are not even part of it, and the stigma attached to it. Not only people themselves who feel that they don't want to take a handout, but the stigma that other people impose on those people. You know, the welfare queen thing. It's not human. It's not human. Now, as Seth was saying, there are people who are going to waste money, and there's that we can't. And they're doing it now with the system we have already. I mean, this is not, but if we do not re-examine all of the premises. I mean, I've been in education for 21 years. Our education system is so messed up. And you can't have a republic without an educated populace. Mm-hmm. I mean, in California, we have initiatives, okay? I get a booklet this big when it's election time, all right? I have to read stuff that's so completely incomprehensible. I mean, I have a PhD, so I understand some of it. But imagine, I mean, people don't even look at it. And then they vote according to what ad they saw on TV, who was the most attractive person. I mean, you cannot run a republic this way, especially not with social media, what it is. So the education system has the same premises as it did 100 years ago. We use Carnegie units that were invented in 1906. We have a curriculum that's based on the Committee of 10 that was written in 1893. The same. We keep the kids in a row. Maybe now they're in circles. They regurgitate what the teachers teach them. And it's not about teaching. It's about learning. There's nothing about learning. We never articulate what learning is like. We never give power to the kids to take hold of their own education. We do not train them to make decisions. We punish them when they fail.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. Those two things, you just destroyed society. Because if you think you're going to fail, you're not going to try. And you're going to keep marching according to the... Yeah. And if you are being held responsible for things you have no control over, teachers and students, you're living a lie.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying. We are living under institutions and systems that have lost their validity in the world we live in. And until we challenge that, all of us, and one of the things that I do want to say about who we've been talking about, we talk quite a bit about libertarians, and libertarians represent, I think, 3% of the population. Yeah. That is not. Who we have to convince are, first of all, the people who would be recipients of this, but who see it as not addressing inequality. Because if everybody gets it, then they're not being raised up. And people who are working hard, who are getting by barely, and who don't want their money to go to the guys who are not working. That's the majority of the people we have to convince. It's not the 3% of libertarians who, are intellectual. They understand what we're talking about. We have to talk to the people who actually live what we're talking about, and that's very hard to do.
Oh yeah, no, I certainly agree with you, and I think I could go for hours with you on education policy. That sounds like a thrilling topic to get into with you, but I agree that fundamentally we need to convince the people who think that by giving everyone a baseline economic floor, we're not actually challenging the problems that the people who are already suffering and getting welfare are facing.